If you have been struggling with sleep, difficulties falling asleep or staying asleep, I am so glad that you have found this video because I'm going to be breaking down how sleep works, how insomnia starts, and how insomnia is perpetuated so that you can start taking insomnia recovery into your own hands. This is part of a 4-part series where I'm breaking down the 4 most important components when it comes to insomnia recovery, holistic insomnia recovery, meaning without medication, without strict rules, so that you can achieve lasting recovery. So make sure that you stick around and not just watch this video, but definitely watch the videos that follow. And before we get into it, my name is Fiona. I'm a recovered chronic insomniac turned holistic sleep coach. And having experienced issues with my sleep myself, specifically chronic insomnia for a very long time, I know what you're probably feeling right now. You're lost, confused, alone. You feel like everything and anything that you're being told about sleep doesn't feel like it resonates with why you're struggling, but you're being thrown pills and supplements and you're being told to have this perfect sleep environment and still nothing is working. I just want to say that all of that is due to a very specific reason, which I'm going to be breaking down today. So just please know that you're not broken and you're not doing anything wrong. And the more you actually understand what is actually going on, the easier it is to start reclaiming your life from ultimately what is this nightmare. In order for us to understand why we're not sleeping or how this cycle of insomnia is in fact perpetuated, we need to start with sleep. We need to understand how sleep works, how it is regulated, what actually controls our sleep. So getting into it, the first principle that I want you to remember and take away from this video is that sleep is a completely passive process. You can think of sleep like breathing. Our body takes care of sleep without us getting involved in that process. We just get confused about being able to. And sleep is regulated by 3 things, 3 natural processes in our body and nothing else. Those 3 things are our circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock. It is regulated by daylight hours and it operates at around a 24-hour cycle. Our individual sleep need, this is our need for sleep, and this can vary from 6 to 10 hours, which is why you should not be comparing how long you sleep to that average 8-hour sleep. It is completely bonkers. And number 3, our individual or our sleep drive. Our sleep drive is the accumulation of the need to sleep that happens throughout the day. You can almost think of it as a balloon that is filling with air all day long. And there's going to be a point in which that balloon needs to pop in order for that air to be released. And it actually works on the same principle. We have the accumulation of adenosine in our brain. And once that adenosine kind of like reaches its max, our body would actually like switch off. There is kind of like this inability for us to stay awake forever without sleeping, right? Oftentimes, insomniacs think that they haven't slept at all for 7 days. It is literally impossible. We've probably slept, we just don't remember having slept. But anyway, once you fall asleep, that adenosine gets flushed down our spinal stem and our body goes into this process of recovery. It helps us restore kind of like our cells, our process our emotions, regulate our mood. So yes, of course, I'm not going to lie. Sleep, of course, is important, but so are other things. And the most important thing that I want you to know through this explanation of sleep is that those are the only things that regulate sleep and nothing else. So knowing that sleep happens completely passively, let's talk a little bit about how our issues with sleep can often start. Sleep is a passive process, okay? And then for some reason, we at some given point in time experience a stressful event. That could be, I don't know, honestly, anything from jet lag, meaning that you're outside of your normal sleep window, to a traumatic event happening within your family. Maybe you've lost a family member, maybe you've given birth. There's so many things that can trigger us to have a bad night. And that's how insomnia always starts. It is just one bad night. But the difference between this bad night and any other sleepless night that you've had in the past is that that night became 2. That first night you didn't sleep, great, you feel tired the next day. The next day you try and go to sleep again. And for some reason, again, you cannot fall asleep. So it starts feeling like something is wrong. But when you start like associating that something is wrong around your sleep, knowing that it is a completely passive process, our nervous system very quickly hangs on to this and says, right, there's something wrong here. And when our nervous system identifies something as wrong, something as threatening, something that may harm us, it releases two very important stress hormones into our bloodstream. Okay, this is cortisol and adrenaline, and it makes us more awake. So the more we start worrying about the fact that we're not sleeping, the more our nervous system wakes us up in order to fight off wakefulness, which is the opposite of sleep, right? We want to avoid wakefulness. We're afraid of it. And therefore, our nervous system is getting increasingly agitated and awake in order to fight off that thing. That's all it takes for insomnia to start, is one bad night followed by a unfortunate poor reaction, which very quickly can trigger and kind of trickle into something way bigger. Every single client that I have spoken to always says that it starts with one night, and for some reason that night became two, and then a week, and then maybe they got better for a little bit, but still they can always trace back that first initial occurrence with their sleep as this was different to other times I have struggled. And I wanted to say that as much as it's important for us to understand how insomnia started, it is important to remember that it isn't actually that important how it started as opposed to how it is perpetuated or how we keep insomnia alive. And I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity, or I guess removes a bit of the stress, because I know from having spoken to so many of my clients who often say, well, my insomnia started with this traumatic event that happened a year ago or a couple of years ago or months ago or weeks ago. It doesn't really matter. How am I supposed to go back and fix it? Well, you can't, right? All we can ever fix is the present moment and how insomnia is perpetuated today, which is completely possible. So insomnia first started with one bad night. How does it actually turn into something which is way bigger? And that is how we react to the fact that we're not sleeping. We react badly. We create this message to our nervous system. We kind of signal to our nervous system that something is wrong, and our nervous system really hangs on to that because it is rooted in survival. It has absolutely nothing to do with logic. That this thing that we now are scared of is something that it's going to try and protect us from. The problem is insomnia is a perceived threat. It isn't actually a real one, meaning that wakefulness or experiencing wakefulness isn't actually going to harm us, but our nervous system doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a fake threat. To put it in a bit of a parallel example, because I know sometimes that can feel like very confusing, because wakefulness at night feels heavy, it feels scary, you're anxious all the time, you're ruminating, you're going to the bathroom a million times, maybe your hands feel tingly, or you get like hot rashes. Like there's so many things that yes happen like as physical sensations as a reaction to the fact that we're stuck in this layer of hyperarousal, but it isn't actually as threatening as being chased by a lion. So let's look at a perceived threat versus a real threat, okay? A perceived threat can be something like the fear of dogs. For example, you experienced being bitten by a dog when you were younger. It was a one-off event. And ever since then, even though you like dogs, you still have that little layer of anxiety around dogs. You're cautious, like it feels automatic, right? It doesn't have to do with logic. You can feel or see a very cute, fluffy dog and still feel afraid of it. That is your nervous system talking, which is the same nervous system that is trying to communicate that it is afraid of wakefulness. These are two examples of perceived threats, both wakefulness and dogs, because wakefulness isn't going to harm us just as much as not all dogs are going to harm us. In comparison to being chased by a lion, okay? Imagine you can't actually experience this thing. You can't experience being chased by a lion or maybe being exposed to lions without it actually being threatening to your survival. So that is the difference between a real threat and a perceived threat. But again, our nervous system doesn't actually know the difference. Because we have experienced one bad night and we're afraid of wakefulness, we are also attempting to do everything possible to make sleep happen, right? As soon as we start struggling with sleep, we end up having all of these sleep efforts. They're sometimes subconscious. We also live in a culture where we are continuously told that sleep is important. So we start to implement, I don't know, like controlling our sleep environments. We cancel evening plans. We stop going to the gym. We stop drinking alcohol at night, or maybe we start drinking alcohol. We avoid coffee. Maybe we start taking medication. You name it, we do everything possible in order for sleep to happen. But as I covered at the very beginning of this video, sleep is not controlled by any external factor that you're trying to implement. And when we start searching for sleep and all of these external sources, our nervous system is hearing, yes, wakefulness really is something we need to avoid. And the cycle is perpetuated, which is where it makes it paradoxical. The harder you try and sleep, the harder you try and chase sleep, control your sleep, control the outcome around sleep, the less likely sleep is going to happen. And I do want to say that it's also not your fault. Like, most of the world does not know this, including doctors. They will prescribe you medication. They are trying to help you, but they also don't understand how insomnia is actually perpetuated. And I know that in taking medication, you may feel like you need it or you can't sleep without it. Let me also say that it is scientifically proven to be impossible to lose the ability to sleep. Literally, it's absolutely impossible. Only like, I think less than 10 cases worldwide have ever been recorded for fatal insomnia. So even if you're worried about this happening to you, the chances are literally closer to zero than even 1% for this ever happening. So yes, everything that you're trying to do is ultimately trying to make sleep happen, but the harder you try and make sleep happen, the less likely it is for sleep to happen. And that's actually everything I'm going to be covering in this video specifically. Make sure you check out video 2, which is where I go into how to break the cycle, how to reteach your nervous system that it is in fact safe to fall asleep. And if you feel like you'd like to watch it in a bit of a condenser manner, I also have my free 30-minute masterclass, which is linked below, which will also run you through the 4 layers of insomnia recovery and how you too can start taking insomnia recovery into your own hands. And if you feel like you have any questions, comments, concerns, just go ahead and pop that in the comment section below, or feel free to also message me, email me. My email is also linked there, and I'm pretty responsive.